680.
And Mr. Burke, how long have you been animal control officer in the town of North?
1 years.
And you're familiar with the Spruce Road residences of the
Yes.
Shaughnessy's and the Crestus?
Yes.
And to your memory, to your knowledge, when did the complaint start to come in concerning?
The complaint started maybe late '06.
Have you reviewed your records prior to coming here this evening regarding complaints?
We haven't, before '06, we didn't have any complaints. So.
And that's based upon your memory or some review you did of the records that you keep of police
Based on
prosecutions?
memory.
I know your most recent report indicates that there's been 3 complaints since the mediation session in September.
I can read them all to you.
But if you can go back to a year prior to that, do you have any?
I have 1 year's worth of records right now.
What do you have for 1 year's worth of records in terms of complaints concerning barking from the Spruce Road address? And do you have, when the complaints come in, do they indicate what address it may be coming from?
Oh, yeah.
And whether or not there's multiple dogs?
Yeah, I got all the records right here.
So if you can tell us, how many complaints did you receive, or animal control or police receive over the last year?
All right, starting January 5th, which was the first complaint.
And out of those 12, how many were complaining about multiple dogs?
I can read them to you. Where do you want to start?
Maybe it'd be easy if I ask you this. How many of those refer to specifically the Crester dogs?
Back. In the last 3 complaints, it's barking dogs, nobody specific. A lot of these calls were 5 and 10 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes. No specific. There's no specific.
Out of those 12 since January, there's no specific address or dog identified?
It's identified as the Spruce Road. Crester.
When you receive the calls, what efforts would you make to identify what dog or what home the barking would be coming from? Excuse me. When you would receive the complaint of the dog barking in that area, what efforts would you make to identify either the home or the dog that it was coming from?
Well, we would go on the complaint calls, and the problem is we're in a part-time position. Okay, I'm there 8 to 11. They're calling it 12. You know, barking might be happening, but I can't witness it. Same goes with Carl. It goes on late half of the afternoon. Same thing. So that you got a time period there where could be happening.
Have you ever responded to a call to Spruce Road in which you got there and there was barking that was ongoing?
In the past, more so, I'd say more before this year,
In which
where the
address?
dogs would be barking from both residences, but.
Okay, so there were occasions when you would respond to a call. You
But
get
most of the time, when you arrive on their property, the dogs will stop barking, if they're outside.
But was there any occasion when you would drive up and you would hear the barking as you're approaching either one of the two addresses?
Like I said, maybe over a year ago,
And,
none recently.
okay, and over a year ago, when you drove up on that occasion, or occasions,
Yeah.
were you able to identify what home or homes the
Yeah.
barking was coming from?
It was both.
So when you would hear it, it would be-
One dog bark, then there'd be a chorus. I'd say in the last year, no, it hasn't been that bad.
Do you know how many dogs are licensed to the Cresta home, or have been over the last 3 years?
Two were licensed to the Crest home. He has a small dog, I'm not sure what it is, and there's one German Shepherd.
And that's for the last 2 years?
I'd say so, yeah.
Mr. O'Leary.
Jerry, on the request, residents of Northridge, have you gone to Northridge and actually heard any dog barking? Or responded to the complaint, do you just go to Spruce Road, or do you go down to Northridge and try and listen? Or have you in the past, not just on last year, the last 2, 3 years?
I have gone there, but like I said,
Not barking, trying to get there.
when we get there, no,
And then,
not saying they're not barking.
Just your recollection, how many times have you visited the Cresta household to talk to them about barking dogs?
Over the last few years, I can't recall.
2 times, 3 times, 1 time?
More than that.
More than,
Maybe.
best of your recollection, more than a handful?
Yeah,
More than a handful.
for both residences.
That's the Douglas and Cresta, so just
Yeah.
take it point. Yeah, because that's what the hearing is.
Mhm.
So more than a handful in
Yeah.
the last 3 years.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
You've gone and had conversation.
Yep.
At any point, did Mr. Cresta acknowledge that his dog may have been barking?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that it may have presented some sort of a nuisance to the neighbors?
I've talked to him, the problem be resolved. I wouldn't hear any complaints for a few months, and then I get another complaint.
What type of action, if any, did Mr. Cresta say that he was going to take in order to alleviate the concerns of the neighbors?
Well, he could be concerned about, he was always concerned about his neighbors and stuff on the back. He would bring the dogs in, when they started barking excessively or anything like that,
Are you aware as to, I don't know what the situation is as to whether or not everybody in the household works, they leave the dogs out in the area, or, is there always someone at home that
Like I
pull them in?
said, I'd say over a year ago,
Right.
we could say that.
You could say that there was nobody at home?
His wife usually was home, Mike's wife was usually home. There was occasions when I got there and wanted to speak with them, and no one was home, but no dogs were out.
But there was an acknowledgement on their part?
Yeah, they fixed the problem. Like I said, a few months later, I got another call.
Any other questions for Mr. Walton?
I have one.
Mr. Walton, please.
I'm sorry. Alan Walton, 58 North Ridge Drive.
Raise your hand, right hand.
We're to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do. One of you two gentlemen, if I remember correctly,
Now, let's do the chair.
I'm sorry, approximately somewhere between 1 and 2 years ago, I couldn't say exactly which, I did receive a call from one of the dog officers. I forget which one it was. And it was somewhere around 1 or 2 o'clock one afternoon, as the result of a complaint that we had made. And they reported to me that they were at the home at 41 Spruce, They were in the backyard. There were 2 German Shepherds there, barking away. There was no adults at home, and that there was a child there, a boy, and they spoke to the boy, and he picked up a cell phone and called his parents. Now, I'm just reporting what I was told by the dog officer. So there was at least one occasion when that occurred, and when there was no one home other than a child.
I guess, any other questions from the board?
If I can just add one last thing.
Mr. O'Leary. Mr.
Now,
Mr. Diamond.
you want me up there because I don't need a microphone?
Speak loud.
Okay. If we were trying to build a case, then we would have continued with our calls as frequently as the barking continued. But we didn't. We kind of gave up. So when you're looking for dates and calls and you say 12 calls, 20 calls, we could have made it 100 calls because there were that many incidents. But we didn't. And blame us for the failure to provide a paper trail. But I'm not sure those numbers are anywhere near accurate. Most times when people call and they get a machine, they don't want to leave their name and number, etc., so they hung up. But people did call. Numerous occupants of Northridge did call numerous times, not just 12, but they never got anybody, and it never went away, so they didn't continue with their calls.
I think we've heard everything from people in Northbridge. At this point, we'll question the owner of the dog, Mr. Cresta, and his representatives.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I've got some materials I'd like to pass on to the members of the board for consideration.
I'm not testing you. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I think I'll leave those with you since they seem to line up perfectly with that. And before I begin, if I could just take you very briefly through the materials that I presented, because that will pretty much preview the case. And then, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to go back to those photographs which I just presented to you. On the left-hand side, you'll see the insert, which you've probably seen before. Similar, if not identical, to the, I guess, the Google map of the neighborhood, showing the respective locations of the Cresta property, Northridge property. To the right, you'll see 2 reports from Olympia Kennels, one of which actually was provided to Mr. Delaney after our mediation session with the neighbors. And they come from the 3 here in Mr. Cresta lot plan. There's also a CB and opinion letter from Catherine Rubel, who's an animal behaviorist that's actually studied Brando. With the exception of some few comments I'm going to make about that photograph, Mr. Chairman, what we'd like to focus on is the dog Brando, and not necessarily on the complaints. You heard from many of the other neighbors at the last hearing that Ms. Shaughnessy brought, who went through the neighborhood and claimed that they hadn't heard any excessive barking from any dogs. You've heard from the Northridge people. And again, with the exception of those photographs, I really don't want to go there because I don't get the benefit of cross-examination or anything of that nature. Not appropriate under the circumstances. I will tell you, though, Mr. Chairman, I submitted those 2 photographs to you, which I think if you compare to the photograph submitted by Ms. Walton, lines up pretty closely what she claims is a depiction of the Cresta property taken from the Northridge property. I think you also heard the testimony that the distance between that Northridge property and the Cresta home is approximately 2 football fields. I suggest to you